Okay, we're going to get started. This is the Certification Advisory Council, and I'd like to welcome you all here. And if we could have our Certification Advisory Council members introduce themselves, and then the staff will introduce ourselves, and then our guests for the day.
Jennifer Ram. Donna Jurek.
Diana Miller.
I'm Kathy Mayer, Special Projects Director with the Coordinating Board.
Rex Peebles, Assistant Commissioner for Academic Quality and Workforce with the Coordinating Board.
Paul Schuler, I'm Program Director for the Coordinating Board.
Gary Tomerlin, Deputy Assistant Commissioner Workforce for the Coordinating Board.
And let me remind you, if you want us to hear you, you need to press the mic button before you. And if you don't want us to hear you, undo that. Yes, and if we could start with Dr. Wiest.
Okay, I'm Beth Wiest. I'm at Texas State and chaired the team that reviewed this group.
Amin Al-Kuda, the Al-Huda University CEO.
I'm Hamid Ghazali, the Academic Dean of Al-Huda University. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to turn it over to our chair.
Our next order of business is to consider the summary notes from the August 12, 2016 meeting. And so I'd ask the members of the Advisory Council for a review. Do you see anything that needs to be corrected in that summary? All right, then ask then for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, and is there a second?
Second.
And all, anyone? Right, and they're approved. All right, the next order of business then is to consider the application for Certificate of Authority from Al-Huda University. And what we'd like to do is offer our guests an opportunity to share whatever information you'd like to provide relative to the application before us, and any background that you have that would go with that.
I'm not sure if you want us to talk about a specific standard, or what kind of information you expect me to.
Perhaps you could just give us a short background of the school and then the programs, the degree programs that you're applying to offer.
I think Al-Huda University, first of all, I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to come and present to you what we have. That's very nice of you, and we really appreciate it. Al-Huda University is a unique university that was born out of need. There's a big need in the Islamic community for having a university that is able to bring the Islamic culture, combine it with the American culture, with the academic culture, so that the teachers, for example, would be able to relate to the academic needs of the American community, and at the same time bridge the Islamic culture with the academic needs and the social needs and so on. And hence the idea came in of having this university. We started to look into what is it that the Muslim community really needs right now. And then we identified a few areas. The first area was the Islamic background that all the teacher needs, for example, and then we looked at the academic needs that we have, and we identified the second area was the education, because the Islamic education here is booming. I serve on SACS, for example. I have an accreditation team on Monday for a public school, so I'm very familiar with what it takes really to get accredited become one of the best schools. We wanted to do the same for our teachers, educate them, make them aware of what a professional teacher is, especially most of the teachers come from a background that is not really in the area of education. Teach a foreign language and they don't really know the background that is needed to teach a foreign language, and on and on. So we really thought then that the university would fill that gap. And then we looked into other areas. For example, there is a need for people who have good background in Islamic finance and also in the general area of finance, academic skills that are needed in the area. We looked actually into other areas like counseling, for example. There is a big need for counseling, but we haven't ventured into that yet. So we limited what we have right now into 3 areas. The Islamic background, where we offer a bachelor degree, the education, a degree, a master's degree in education, which really combines the academics with the Islamic background that is needed. And the 3rd area is the Islamic finance, which is very much needed right now. In the future, we'll have the chaplain, for example. There's a need for Muslim chaplains. There's nobody who's offering that at the current time. So we thought Al-Huda University would be a unique platform to offer such a degree. But we haven't ventured into that yet. So that's part of our vision for the future. That's what we basically doing. We're still growing. We're still, learning. We're still filling things here and there. We learned a lot from the committee that came to us, examined us, and since then, we really did a lot of things. So I thank you for giving us this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
You allow me, please?
Yes.
Nowadays, we have a lot of non-accredited higher education Islamic institutes in the U.S. They are working offline. They are not acknowledged by the education system in the U.S. What makes us unique is that we want to integrate the Islamic civilization, Islamic history, Islamic culture. We want people, general public, students of knowledge, Muslims and people of different faith, to get the right information from the right resource. And in order for us to do so, we have no choice but to be accredited. I really thank you all for the opportunity that you are giving us. And we have learned a lot from the standards of the Board of Education. We are willing to take the challenge, and we are fully confident that the Board of Education will give us the opportunity and the chance to grow and to, and to integrate the, Islamic education as a part of the diverse, community that we enjoy here in the U.S. Thank you.
And Beth, do you have anything that you would like to share from the site visit?
There were 3 of us, of course, on the site visit. I think one thing I would concur with everything they've said. And I think the thing that we found most interesting and most there's several things that we learned from this process as well. But we were just there at the end of July. And we did have a lot of questions and concerns and thoughts, and most of it is not in terms of the value of what they're doing and not in terms of the educational structure, but in terms of all the peripheral structures it takes to run an institution of higher education. And we were there just, it was July, but really they've had 2 months to respond to our concerns. And I think they have done a phenomenal job of taking advice and trying to get systems into play. I guess as a team, our concern is that, it's only been 2 months, and so only so much can really happen in that amount of time. But again, I believe they're very, very dedicated to the cause of what they're doing. We met with their board, we met with their faculty, we met with their students, and I must say that in all of those meetings, it was a very, very positive experience. I think what they're doing, truthfully, in light of the culture of the U.S. today, is phenomenal. I believe that they have the best intentions of their students in play. So that's probably what I can add at this point, unless you have something more specific.
Can I just make one clarification? Al Huda started out with a purely religious exemption from us because they were at first offering their Islamic studies, and they've mentioned that we considered to be religious instruction and exempt from us. So it was when they were moving into Islamic finance and Islamic education that it's sort of a mixed degree where you can work outside a religious institution. That's when we had asked them to apply for a certificate of authority. So I just wanted to clarify that they have operated with a exemption for, I think, a couple years.
Correct.
So do any of the members of the council have any questions or things that you would like to ask for some additional information?
Kathy, maybe you can answer the, I'm not clear on, I'm assuming the exemption still applies to the undergraduate and that we're considering the graduate, the education masters and the finance masters. Am
Yes.
I correct on that?
You are correct.
Others? And I would also, invite any questions or from our coordinating board staff as well.
Yep, there we go. All right, Ahmed,
Yes.
how did you determine the needs that you talked about a process for determining need? Do you mind letting us
Sure.
know how you-
I work as a consultant for Islamic schools all over the nation, so almost every week I go and help a school. I helped accredit more than 15 Islamic schools through SACS, Advanced Ed. So I worked also as a superintendent of a couple of schools at the same time, which I go not really deeply involved, but as a superintendent I would help the overall structure of it. We also have Islamic conventions that is done like twice a year. And a lot of teachers are invited. We do workshops and so on. So I'm very familiar with the background of almost most of the schools that are there. So based on my experience, based on the shared, conversation that we have in conferences and so on, we jumped. We made the conclusion that there is a big need. And we really did not do a survey or an objective way of assessing that need, but it's so obvious, it's like the sun. You don't have to have an evidence to see the sun is there. So it's really very, very evident that there is a big need for Islamic schools to have a venue where they can really learn in a professional way and get a degree and help the country and help the Islamic community in general link to the big American community and be part of it.
And the schools you mentioned, are they higher education or K through 12?
K to 12.
Okay.
That's where we do the training for the teachers. Basically, it's the Quran, Arabic, and Islamic studies teachers who join our program. Other teachers, math, science, and so on, they really go into other universities to do that. So what we're trying to do is the foreign language, the Islamic culture, and the Quran, which is the Muslim holy book. That's where we teach the teachers, but they lack the skill of classroom management, for example.
Right.
They lack the skills of doing research. That's where our degree would help them enhance that area. So instead of just doing things, by the way they taught, and now they do it through a degree, through a professional path that makes them professional teachers.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just had a couple of questions to help me kind of understand the size of your university. How many undergraduate students do you currently serve?
Please, go ahead.
Applicants so far are around 350 students already applied to Al Huda University. Around 150 students already joined the university, And by joining the university, I mean they have taken at least one course. Current students for this semester are around 65 to 70 students who are currently taking classes for this particular semester.
And for the master's degree?
Roughly speaking, 65 to 70% are undergrad and 30% graduate students in both departments, the Islamic Economics and Finance, as well as the Islamic Education.
Okay, and then what's the size of your annual operating budget?
450 up to $500,000.
Thank you.
Sure.
To tie in on that, out of the students that had started with you guys, how many completed? I know it's not accredited, but are there a certain sequence they like to go through to improve? And
So far, we have only 2 students who graduated from Al-Huda University, one of them with Masters in Islamic Education, and the other one finished only one component of the program, which is the Islamic Studies and their teaching methodology. She did not show interest in having the whole master's program. So 2 graduates so far.
okay, thank you.
I'm just going to add a note there. When we talked with many of the students, many of them already have master's degrees and are just coming back for additional material or a second master's. So I think that's an important piece to add.
Just to build on that, we tried our best to make the Islamic education degree as attractive to students as possible by going with dual credit. So we do acknowledge teacher certification. I mean, if someone is certified, we'll take that certification as is. 20 credit hours are already done and acknowledged. We ask him or her to take only 20 credit hours Islamic studies and their teaching methodology, and we give him or her master's in Islamic education. I mean, just to expedite the process and not to ask our students to start all over.
And that deals with the credit transfer. So we have a policy for the credit transfer. So there is a certain number of hours that they can transfer to the degree, yes.
I would congratulate you on what you were able to get done between July and now. Last night, I certainly read all of the materials, and you have certainly put a number of policies in place, revised the bylaws, et cetera. My concern is that some of the things that need to be there in order to be accredited, such as an audit, such as being able to get the appropriate credentials documented. I certainly understand that the 2 months is a short period of time in order to do that. So can you talk about where we are in terms of actually following through evaluation, those kinds of things? You certainly have put outlines of plans in place.
Right.
How close are we to having any documentation of the follow-through on them? I also noted that the portfolio assessment, you acknowledged that you have eliminated that from the graduate programs.
Right.
So I'm very aware of all you've tried to do. I'm just trying to figure out the closing of the loop.
Audit, please.
Go ahead.
Auditing-wise, I would say within less than 1 month, we'll have the 2015 auditing process is done, and we'll start immediately doing the 2016 once we finish the fiscal year of 2016. So 1 month will be good to go, as they say, with the audit of 2015. Credential evaluation, we adopted a new policy. Those who hold degrees from non-accredited universities will not be allowed to teach at Al-Huda University. The Board of Trustees actually did apply, maybe you want to call it maybe a petition. They consider me like a special case because they do have some experience and teaching background. So they do believe, and I was not a part of making this decision, that I am, this is what they said, that I'm qualified to be the director of the Islamic Studies Department. So upon the approval of the Texas Education Board, I will resume my responsibility as the director. Otherwise, we'll find somebody else to take over this position. We'll abide with your policy.
I think it relates to the Islamic department or Islamic Information Department, which is, I think, already, as was mentioned, that already that is taken care of. So in terms of the School of Education and School of Islamic Finance, that's where I assumed responsibility with my degree in curriculum and instructions from Kansas State University as the Dean of the Academic Affairs. And we added also a colleague of mine, Dr. Kabadi, has a degree from the same department. We're colleagues at the same department. We added recently a third, Dr. Basil, and we added a fourth one, actually, from Texas A&M to our team with a degree in educational leadership. So we're really trying our best to comply with the requirements that you put. I spend a lot of time thinking, reflecting, planning, evaluating, and so on. And when I looked at the evaluation I really knew what we were lacking and what we were doing, but definitely the team came in and opened our eyes to areas that we should really put immediate focus on. And that's where I started to look into the assessment as the Dean of the Academic Affairs. And when you look, there is the area where you can use the quantitative methodology, and there's an area where you use the qualitative methodology to do the assessment. And both of them should be combined together to do the final assessment with an input from the stakeholders, all the stakeholders, the students, the teachers, the administrators, and so on. And we started to develop, and we actually did get the data from the staff. We designed the survey, we checked the validity and reliability of the survey, and we passed it. We collected the data. We looked at it. We organized it in a descending order to see the areas that need improvement, the areas of strength, and so on. So we're really on the right track. It's just a matter of time. By the end of most probably January, we'll be able to see the results of all the surveys that we're doing. And in addition to adding, for example, requiring the teachers to pass certain, state tests, for example, that are required by TIA for the teachers to pass. For the Arabic, for example, excuse me. We added it based on the input of the committee that came, that we really want the teachers to pass the National Council of Teaching Foreign Languages test, you see. So we benefited a lot, and we added these components so that we become objective rather than just using our internal system to make a judgment. So there is a lot of improvement. I put for your references, I put here a chart. I'm not sure if you have a copy of it. Yes. And if you really look at this chart that you have, it sums up the process of evaluation from A to Z. It's data-driven. It has an input from all the stakeholders, and it has, at the end, results in an improvement plan that is data-driven. Yeah.
When you talked about 3 positions that you added as a result of the site visit, are those full-time appointments or are those adjunct?
2 of them are adjunct, and 1 is a full-time, yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, and I think Dr. Hamid maybe misunderstood the question. If I understood you correctly, we do have 3 full-time professors, full-time director for the Islamic Studies, which is myself, full-time instructor and academic dean for the Department of Islamic Education, Dr. Hamid Ghazali, and a full-time instructor who's the director of the Islamic Economics and Finance. So we have 3 full-time. Now, under the Department of Islamic Education, Dr. Hamid has another 3 or 4 professors who are adjunct, but as of himself, he is a full-time now, based on the recommendation of the Dr. Wiest.
And just if I may add, for the assessment, You know, when you look at advanced ed for the K-12 and for the colleges and universities, they're almost the same. I examined both of them. They really kind of look at it from different angles, but at the end, same methodology is used. And I have done a lot of planning for K-12 schools that I supervise, so I can kind of, you know, understand where the committee is coming from and what the committee is requesting, and we are really on the right track. Yeah. Thanks to you and to the committee.
In terms of things that you see that still need to be completed, there've been some references about you've made good progress, but there still are some things to do. What do you see right now as being the most urgent to address, and what are you focusing on currently?
I would say assessing the curriculum, more involvement from the professor's side, finding a national standard to like check the academic performance, academic achievement of the Islamic studies professors, which is something we lack in the U.S. We do not have a national standard in the same way we can evaluate maybe those who hold a degree in education or in finance. There is some certification and some evaluation system for them. But those who hold degrees or higher degrees in Islamic studies, Islamic jurisprudence, Islamic law, Islamic theology, there is no, to my knowledge, there is nothing like national acknowledged standard for them to be, evaluated. Thus, it's still a new area. Yeah.
I think also a follow-up on what we have done on the overall assessment and planning and institutional effectiveness. We just have to fill in the gaps and do more surveys and collect the data, analyze them. We did part of that, but there is a lot that needs to be done in addition to that. Yes.
So, help me understand a little bit better exactly what the master's degree in education would prepare a student to do.
We identified 4 areas, I believe. Let me just look quickly here.
Until he finds them.
I'll just, actually, we have 5 areas that at the end, you will be able to see disciplinary knowledge that the students will have, and that is divided into 2 areas or 2 categories: the Islamic knowledge versus the disciplinary knowledge, say in education or Islamic finance. The second is the academic and life skills. We really want our students at Al-Huda to demonstrate an ability to think critically, to analyze, to be able to take a project and finish it. And that is done a lot, because at the beginning of every course that we have, we discuss these skills that we want the children, or we want the students to really look at. And the third area that we have is personal and social skills. So in these personal and social skills, communication, for example, considering the interest of other people around you, looking and seeing how you're going to live with others, with different cultures, with diversity. The fourth area is community engagement. What are you going to do with the knowledge that you got? How are you going to help serve the community that you live in, Muslims and non-Muslims? How are you able to contribute to the success of the country at the end and help the whole USA and the whole state of Texas really come to a level where you are part of the growth of the country and the state you live in. And the fifth area is the moral and ethical commitment. And that is really where our contribution is maximized, where we bring a blend between the American culture and the Islamic culture. When it comes to morals, ethics, it should be the same. I mean, the background that everybody has, so you bring the similarities. You bring where you really can contribute working with others. and keeping, working ethically with others. And so these are the general areas. Now, when we assess these for each program, we take each course, and then we look into these, 5 areas that I mentioned. How is this going to achieve that? We looked at all the courses in the master's degree, and then we came up with a grid, which this course covers this point, this point, this point. For example, when we talk about, a course in Islamic education, is it covering the knowledge and the area of, say, secular knowledge or knowledge in general? So it wouldn't cover that, it would cover only one part. So we kind of came up with a grid at the end that shows which course is contributing to one of these 5 areas that we have.
So a student graduating with this degree,
Yes.
then given the subject matter content of the degree,
Sure.
then what kind of jobs are they qualified to hold?
They would be able, mainly 90% of them in the Islamic education field will be teaching in Islamic schools. But now with the degree that they have, they know classroom management. They know research, in addition to the knowledge they get in the Islamic part. So that's number one. Number two, there is a good chance for some of them to teach Arabic as a second language in a public school, for example, or in someplace else, or an institution that really needs somebody to teach Arabic as a second language. So these are the 2 areas for that degree. For the Islamic finance, and I think Dr. Man may be more qualified than me to answer that question because his degree is in Islamic finance, so I would request him to answer that.
Even if you allow me, in the Islamic education, in the US here, if you just zoom out and look at the whole picture, we have around 500 different Islamic schools nationwide. And to our knowledge, a good percentage of the Islamic studies, Quran and Arabic language teachers do not have any credential. There is no certification, there is no academic degree in Islamic studies. If you compare the qualification and the certification level of the Islamic studies, Quran, Arabic language, to the other academics, there is a huge difference between the two. So we are here to fill that gap and to make sure that everyone stands in front of the students and teach Islamic studies, does know Islamic studies, certified academically, holding a degree, knows exactly what is he or she is talking about. This is an Islamic education. In Islamic economics and finance, we do believe that this industry is like booming and growing tremendously in the US. And we do have some Islamic mutual fund companies and Islamic mortgage companies, some attempts, here and there. Our job in this department is to inject more ethics and morals and values to the finance in general, and to make sure that the Muslim minority in the US, they do find an Islamic alternative that complies with their religious principles, staying away from interest, for example, and some other religious restrictions. We have to make sure that our financial needs are satisfied by having sufficient institutes in the US who are in compliance with the American law as well as with the Islamic law. This is the challenge that we are facing in the Islamic finance department.
Yeah, and you have, for example, Divan Bank, for example, offers now Islamic, loans. It's almost the same. They make the same money. There's no change in the amount of money they make, but the way they write the contract, the way they deal with the technicalities is different. You see, the end product is the same. Then you need people who understand the Islamic law, the Islamic culture, and they understand the American law, and then combine both. That's where the degree really helps or prepares the individual to be able to see both sides. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Tell me a bit more about your sort of the physical infrastructure of the college and the financial capabilities. So in reading through the materials, one of the concerns that I have is sort of the financial basis or the financial stability of the institution. I don't doubt the financial stability of the institution now. I guess my major concern is whether there is the capability there and the sustainability going forward. So if you could explain that a little bit, or talk about that a little bit.
I think that's a legitimate concern. We do have the same concern. And I think, to be clear, I don't think I would be able to give you an accurate answer to that. But looking at the current situation that we have, extrapolating what we have into the future, chances are there that we will sustain, will be able to sustain. Looking at the history of Islamic institutions in the USA, same question would have been raised in say, in the school that we have in Katy, for example. It's been there, and the same question was raised early in 2009. And we were in the same boat like this, but sustainability was there, was maintained. The same, I go and help a school in Kansas, they had the same concern. And sustainability has been there for the last 20 years, you see. So though there is no guarantee, but the need drives the financial matters. And there is a big need, so there will always be continuity and sustainability of the income coming that we have. And maybe Dr. Mann can also add a few things here. Yeah.
So far, around 10, maximum 15% of our annual budget is covered by the tuition fees we receive from our students. We cannot raise the tuition fees simply because the university is non-accredited, and students are not persuaded, they do not see it worth it paying us money for the tuition fees because we are non-accredited yet. Hopefully in the future, whenever we get accredited by your good selves and by SACS, we definitely can raise the tuition fees. This is number one. Number two, the board of trustees of Al-Huda University prevented me from accepting international students from overseas. And they have a vision behind that. They said, we do not know who are those people. They might be affiliated with different organizations. We don't want to take this route, just to stay locally within the American community only. If they change their mind in the future and they allowed me to admit students from overseas, we can double charge them. International students, we can charge them more. Another route actually is the endowment fund and the investment. We do have a very humble experience. We bought some properties for investment purposes. We do have a brokerage account with Fidelity. Like tens of thousands of dollars we invest for just making profit. Hopefully we'll get more money and more investment. Our plan is to be like financially self-sufficient maybe within, I would say, 7 years from now, with the accreditation, with the endowment fund, with the investment that we are doing, and with the raise and the tuition fees. My experience is that the Muslim community at large, very generous, very supportive. They believe in relevant and authentic Islamic education. And it makes a big difference when they trust the leaders of a certain institute. Fortunately, we are trusted by our community. So we do not, hopefully we will not be having any financial difficulties in the future. We did not experience any deficit whatsoever. Since the establishment of the university, we have abundance of money. We can cover our expenses, and we have a lot of saving moving from one year to another. We are getting more financially stable. So I might disagree with Dr. Hamid. Honestly, I do not see it maybe a big concern. We receive a lot of fund from our community.
Yeah, and I think also, with the certification, if we get that certificate of authority, then that gives us a chance to raise our money. And also the certificate of authority has a time limit on it. So he would reevaluate again and look again into the situation to extend it or not to extend it.
The school you mentioned in Katy, is that a excuse me, is that a K through 12 that you?
Yes.
Okay.
It's accredited by Advanced Ed.
Okay.
Yes. and it's one of the top in the nation, by the way. Our average ACT score is 28.1. It's a small size, so that's, I wouldn't really be making conclusions from that, but it's just an indication that it's a strong school. The average Iowa test score puts the school in the 98.5 percentile. Thank you.
Some of the graduates of the Houston Quran Academy are joining Al-Hood University, so they are like, sister organizations.
Any further questions? Okay, well then, I would ask then of the council members if anyone would like to make a motion concerning the consideration of the application for certificate of authority.
I'm struggling with the fact that I think you've done incredible planning. I mean, some of your strategic planning is obviously first rate, but I don't have any documentation of the follow-through. And having been on lots of accreditation committees, not just here, but for SACS, which you've mentioned repeatedly, that concerns me that I don't have the follow-through. So I just want to be sure I'm not requiring something that I shouldn't, but that's my real concern. I think you are on the right track.
Yes, thank you.
Are we far enough down the track?
I do have some of the data. If you would like to see it after the meeting, I'll be happy to show it to you. We started collecting the data. So,
No,
yes.
I'm sure you have some of the data. It's the follow-through, it's the audits that aren't yet there, it's the documentation that isn't there yet there.
Yes.
Well, let me just sort of tell you what your options are here at this
that would
point,
be helpful.
so that y'all can understand what, if anything, you want to do. Of course, you have the option of recommending, and of course, the recommendation kind of goes to staff and the board, and remember that the coordinating board itself then has the actual final determination of either approval or disapproval, but you have the option of recommending either approval of a certificate of authority for Al-Huda University as is. Of course, you have the option of also denying approval as well. But you also have the option you could simply table the motion, so to speak, and allow for more information to be brought in.
Question, if it is for more information, then how long does that delay them for, because do they go to a meeting soon, or?
Well, it would, I assume that then a motion to table in normal parliamentary parlance, that would table until the next meeting of the Certification Advisory Council, which is in January.
With 16 of the 24 standards not being met at the site visit, I would make a motion that we table this at this time.
A second?
Second.
And go and then poll. Okay. Do you agree to the tabling of the motion?
Motion is to table.
Okay.
You either need
So,
Yes.
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 And so the motion is tabled, correct?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
By tabling it, do they have to bring it back in January? Because I think it would be good to look at what needs to be there and to bring it back when the concerns that are up in the air can be answered
Yeah, I think that would be left to
them. That's
the
fine.
I'm confident
Alhuda
by-
University,
Yeah.
maybe with some advice from staff about whether they're ready or not to come back.
sure.
But in the end, that's really your decision to make. And that can be in January, or it could be at a subsequent meeting as well. I think in terms of sort of parliamentary procedure, if they didn't come back in January, you'd probably have to have another motion
Okay.
to table. But I think that's, the timing of that would be left to the university by and large to make. So, yeah, because I agree. And I would also say that I think, and I think I can speak for the rest of the staff on this, that there has been a tremendous amount of progress made here from the discussions that we had early on. And so I do agree with that. I think there's a lot there to recommend. But on a personal level, I also agree that the follow-through is not quite there yet, although I do agree that there's been a tremendous amount of progress made, and I would also say that you're on the right track as well. So.
Then would you like an update on the next meetings?
Yes, you would.
All right. The next scheduled meetings are January 24th, that's a Tuesday. And then the following one is April 25th, that's also a Tuesday. And then the third one is July 25th, Tuesday, all in 2017.
I just want to make sure that I understood you correctly. Are we expected to report to the Board of Education more information, more data? What is exactly we supposed to do? Just to...
Yes, I think what we need to do, and this may require a sort of separate conversation among staff, and then a conversation with you gentlemen as well, about the standards that still remain outstanding, and then address any concerns that still linger on the part of either the staff or the committee that have been raised here.
Sure.
And so it would be, be a function of addressing the remaining items, and those can be addressed through more documentation. We'd make them available to the committee, of course, and so forth. And so
I think if we look at the standards in general that we did not meet, like 3 or 4 of them relate, for example, to assessment in a way or another. Yes, it's a kind of interlapping with each other. And I think we really looked at them. We developed good plan for it. We collected initial data, not enough data. But I think I can see your point, and I think maybe by January, maybe by the end of December, we'll be able to collect the rest of the surveys from the students, the analysis, the improvement plan. All of that is tied to the data that we need to collect. And I think this is what you're referring to. And that's doable, because it's just a matter of time. The audit will be coming in a week or two. We'll receive the audit because we submitted all the information for the audit. So I think you need to see the plan materialized into actions and plans that are implemented, and you see the results. And I think we can do that. That is doable, and I really appreciate your concern, and I see where you're coming from, and I think that will help us also work harder and harder. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Business then? You ready? Adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you all.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for being here today, and Beth, we thank you for your work on the site team and also to your fellow site visitors, yeah.
It's not ready yet. Yes, yes.
It's not
And it's not like the last meeting, yes. Now, yes.
I need to, see, where I'm confused with this is because it has, they don't really give us a recommendation.
I know.
And I don't know why, because I know when we do,
Asian.
and they don't do that.
Okay. You're welcome. Yeah. I think they're on the right track. I think it's the